Thor Ragnarok has now been released to extreme critical acclaim. It's brilliant. And it takes the MCU to new epic levels. The directions in which it could send the franchise are extremely intriguing, and this video will look at some theories about that. Be warned, there are spoilers here. Enjoy!
I used to spin it really fast, and it would pull me off the...
Oh my god, Emma pulled you off.
New characters to join the heroic fight. The Russo brothers have recently stated that Avengers Infinity War will contain more surprises than any other Marvel movie that came before it. And those surprises will undoubtedly include some new characters who will be kept a secret until the movie's release in 2018. We imagine that those new characters will include new heroes who will be joining the fight against Thanos, as the powerful extraterrestrial villain unleashes the force of the Infinity Gauntlet on the universe. A theory about Thor Ragnarok suggests that the movie may have introduced some of those new heroes in a very clever way. In addition to the more obvious additions to the MCU's heroic cause, such as the wonderful Korg and his insectoid friend Meek, the Grandmaster's Tower of Champions may just have subtly let us know which heroes are set to enter the MCU. In addition to Hulk, who was portrayed as the Grandmaster's current champion on Sakaar, the tower also had the unmistakable visages of Beta Ray Bill, Man-Thing, and Ares, as well as the villainous Bi-Beast. There will come a point in the Infinity War event when the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy need reinforcements. Could those reinforcements come in the form of the likes of Beta Ray Bill and Ares? This theory certainly suggests that could be the case. Both of those guys are incredibly powerful, and having them suddenly join the heroic ranks of the MCU would be awesome. And it could turn the tide in the conflict against the Mad Titan.
What were you the god of again?
A new godly pantheon. We've known of the existence of the Norse gods in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since Thor's hammer dropped to Earth in the post-credit scene of 2010's Iron Man 2. Given that this Norse pantheon exists in the MCU, it makes sense that there would be others too, and this theory suggests that Thor Ragnarok was the beginning of those other pantheons being introduced in the franchise. The reasons for this are twofold. First, the aforementioned Ares Easter egg on the Grandmaster's Tower confirms the existence of Greek gods in the MCU, and second, the death of so many Asgardians and Norse characters such as Odin, Fandral, Volstagg, and Hogun means there's now a vacancy for new mythological characters to fill. The likes of Hercules and Ares would make fantastic Avengers, as they've done in the comics, and they'd add some real muscle to the team going forward. Moreover, Zeus, the Greek equivalent of the Asgardian Allfather Odin, could be extremely useful in the fight against Thanos when the Mad Titan gets his hands on all 6 Infinity Stones. There are, of course, other godly pantheons in the Marvel Universe that could be introduced in the MCU. God and demigod characters based on Roman mythology, Japanese mythology, Aztec mythology, Celtic mythology, Incan mythology, Egyptian mythology, and various other mythologies exist in Marvel's comic books. So the possibilities for new mythological characters really are endless. Seeing the deities of all these mythologies coming together to stand up to an Infinity Gauntlet wielding Thanos would be especially awesome. Can you imagine the visuals?
It's not possible.
Darling, you have no idea what's possible.
A secret invasion movie. At the end of Thor Ragnarok, when the gigantic fire demon Surtur destroyed Asgard with his powerful Twilight Sword, fulfilling the titular prophecy, Thor, Loki, Hulk, Valkyrie, Heimdall, Korg, Meek, and what remained of the Asgardian civilization flew off into space in a large ship. At that point, Thor declared that they would head to Earth to rebuild Asgard there. This is something that happened after Ragnarok occurred in the comic books, when Asgard was rebuilt to float above Broxton, Oklahoma. Thor's home subsequently became part of a number of memorable story arcs, which has resulted in theories being conceived about the possibility of those stories being turned into Marvel Cinematic Universe movies now that the same thing is happening on the big screen. One of those stories was Secret Invasion. That was a 2008 comic book arc that saw a subversive, long-term invasion of Earth by the Skrulls come to fruition. This could be something Thor Ragnarok ultimately leads to, especially given that we now know Skrulls are going to be introduced in the MCU in 2019's Captain Marvel movie. The reason this theory's been conceived is because in the Secret Invasion storyline, the new Asgard that was floating above Oklahoma was one of the many places on Earth the Skrulls targeted when they invaded. Seeing the Skrull race taking on the heroes of Earth and Asgard in one movie would be awesome, and we really hope a Secret Invasion movie happens. Is it something you'd like to see? Let us know your thoughts.
Mr. Balkan, Mr. Fargus,
Norman,
Mr. Osborn. Always a pleasure to have our board of directors pay us a little visit.
A siege movie, another comic book arc that could be turned into a movie thanks to what happened at the end of Thor Ragnarok is Siege, according to this theory at least. The 2010 story followed Asgard's relocation to Earth, which is set to happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Surtur destroyed the Asgard that fans are familiar with, and Loki's manipulation of Norman Osborn into leading an all-out assault on it. In the story, a group of villains got together to discuss Asgard, and Osborn went on to ask the US president for permission to attack it, citing it as a threat to national security. To help Osborn's cause, Loki engineered a tragic event in which a battle involving Asgardians resulted in the death of everyone in attendance at a crowded football stadium in Chicago. As a result, permission was granted to attack Asgard, and the assault was carried out by the likes of Osborn in his Iron Patriot armor, the Sentry, the Dark Avengers, and Earth's own military. Captain America then assembled his Avengers to fight back, and it made for an epic battle that would make one hell of a live-action movie. It could see the introduction of Norman Osborn, the Sentry and his alter ego the Void, the Dark Avengers, and a variety of other iconic villains to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And there's a really good chance that it could happen, given that MCU Earth is already worried about the presence of superhumans, which was epitomized by the implementation of the Sokovia Accords in 2016's Captain America Civil War. The planet won't react well to Asgard being rebuilt there, and it's very easy to imagine the government allowing a revolt against its presence. Is this a movie you'd like to see? Again, let us know your thoughts. A World War Hulk plot. Thor Ragnarok saw a loose adaptation of the Planet Hulk storyline taking place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as one of its subplots. Instead of being banished from Earth like he was in the comic book version of the story, Hulk chose to leave the planet following the events of 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron, and he ended up on a gladiatorial planet where he became its champion. In the comics, Hulk subsequently returned to Earth and waged war on his home planet due to his previous banishment. And while it won't happen for that reason in the MCU, this theory suggests a World War Hulk plot could occur in the franchise. It probably wouldn't be presented as a Hulk solo movie. We envisage a title along the lines of Avengers World War Hulk, but there have definitely been some hints that suggest it could happen. For starters, Hulk is heading back to Earth with Thor and his allies, and he's already expressed concern about doing so because of the fact that the people of Earth don't like him very much. But there's also another hint, and anyone who's read the World War Hulk comics will know that they were part of Hulk's Warbound team who joined the big green guy in his attempts to get revenge on the planet that banished him. We won't even bother asking if this is something you'd like to see, because we already know that absolutely everybody would go crazy for it.
Tea? I don't drink tea.
What do you drink?
Not tea.
More magic. So far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's only been one movie that focused on the concept of magic. That was 2016's Doctor Strange. This theory suggests that Thor Ragnarok was the catalyst for more magic to start being thrown around in the franchise. Thanos is on his way, and he'll be armed with 6 of the most powerful items in the universe, those being the Infinity Stones. He'll also have a horde of allies who are incredibly powerful themselves. There's nothing that's been seen in the MCU to date that could realistically stop them. Thor Ragnarok saw the death of Odin, who would have been a great ally in the fight against the Mad Titan. Mjolnir was destroyed, and the brute force of guys like the Hulk and Thor won't be enough. It's no coincidence that the movie used Doctor Strange's brief appearance to emphasize just how powerful he's becoming. That's because magic is set to become far more prominent in the MCU, and it could be the key to defeating Thanos when he assembles the Infinity Stones in the Infinity Gauntlet. Strange has access to items like the Staff of Living Tribunal, the Wand of Watumb, and the Bow and Arrow of Apollon. All of those invoke the power of mystical beings and could prove extremely useful in the MCU going forward. Hela said to Thor that he has no idea what is possible, which seems like a clear foreshadowing of the amazing magical powers that are set to be unleashed in the franchise. If that is the case, we really can't wait to see them. The imminent demise of Thor. It goes without saying that Thor Ragnarok was a Thor movie. The clue is in the title. Superheroes nearly always survive their own movies, but this theory suggests that this particular movie may have actually been the beginning of the end for Thor. Ragnarok literally means doom of the gods. Although Thor may have come out of the events of this movie alive, the fact that he was one of the gods prophesied to die would suggest that death is still very much on his trail. Think of it like a character in the Final Destination franchise cheating death only for death to bring its plan back on course at a later moment. There was one very significant thing that occurred in Thor Ragnarok that was seemingly a foreshadowing of the god of thunder's imminent demise. Thor lost an eye in a battle with Hela during the movie, just like Odin had lost an eye in an epic battle many years earlier. And we all know what happened to Odin in this movie. That's right, he died. And the fact that Thor now bears a permanent wound that is reminiscent of his father's would suggest that he is heading down the same path. With Avengers Infinity War on the way, this theory certainly leads some people to believe that it will signal the end for the Asgardian Avenger. What better way to show how powerful Thanos is than by having him kill the character who is arguably the hero's biggest gun? Let's be honest, it's about time a prominent hero was killed off in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.